there hasn't been a worse time to have been alive if you have low impulse control. Now, I got this exact quote from a video from this guy, and the more I think about it, the truer it becomes. Everywhere you look, if you just turn on your TV especially during sports, NBA or football or soccer, whatever it may be, what are the ads you're gonna see? They're gonna be about gambling. A lot of them are gonna be about gambling. A lot of them are gonna be about booze. A lot of them are gonna be about fast food. And then something that a lot of them will share is that they will use lust to sell things. So not always a weaponized lust, and I'll explain a bit more further. And when we look at this, I think the first question we have to ask is, why are these ads? Why are these the things that are, being shown the most? And why are we not being shown wholesome ads? And the answer that one very quickly arrives at is that, well, they're the most profitable and they make a lot of money and they just are very profitable. And excuse the noise outside if you hear it. The question that naturally comes after that, and is also easy to answer, is, but why are they the most profitable? Why is the gambling and fast food and alcohol and things related to lust, why are they easier to sell? Well, that is because sin in this matter feels very good. All of these things in the short term are things which give a certain high, a certain rush that, a lot of times the better thing to do, the wholesome thing to do, does not. And if we look at them, they're all kind of the old school type of sins that are very hard to deal with. It is lust, it is gluttony, it is greed, things that since humanity has had conscience, they have corrupted us. And they have really taken us to a point that it's easy to become slaves of these things and to really ruin our lives after this. And I don't think, regardless if you are a person that believes in God or not, that has meaning or not, that even cares about life or not, it is hard not to feel, after you indulge in these things, a certain void inside, a certain regret, a certain feeling that just doesn't feel good. And we can't explain, or I'll attempt to explain, but initially you can't really explain why, especially if you're someone that maybe is depressed, maybe doesn't really care about it. It's like, why should you feel bad for pleasure, for instant sort of pleasurable things? Well, and here's where I think we have to address one of the main points of this whole video and of this whole situation. And I believe that we have to first understand ourselves before we are to correct any problem within ourselves. And the first thing to understand here is why, beyond what we talked about already, is why do these things leave us feeling like that? So void, so empty, so, feeling corrupted, as if we've done ourselves wrong, that I believe we really have done ourselves wrong. And the reason for that, I believe, is because they're leading us down a path of destruction of our body, of our morals, and overall of the life that we can have. Because every single one of these things, whether it is gambling or porn or fast food, all of these things that we know are not good for us, all of them are trying to replace the real thing. And they try to replace it by giving us high emotions and these spikes, but they can never replace it. And in a lot of ways, we're just tricking ourselves, because what someone really wants is not to hit the hand of blackjack and be happy for a little bit, especially if you're an addict. What you really want is wealth. And ideally, wealth doing something that matters to you. But to do that is very hard, and it takes decades and sacrifice, and so I might as well just go and do the blackjack hand. What someone wants, not just watch a porn video and be done with that. You want love, you want a relationship, you want something that feels real and that means something. And you don't want fast food, and not truly. A part of you does, but it's the part that doesn't understand the future. It's the part of you that only understands this moment and the now. And now I want it, so now we must have it. But this part of you forgets that the next moment arrives, and with it comes a lot of regret and a lot of emptiness. And in here is really when I think we have to, after we understand this, and when we go a bit further, we have to realize that to better understand ourselves, the opposite of pleasure, of this instant pleasure, is not what one would initially think. Because if I ask you, oh, what is the opposite of pleasure? A lot of people would say it's pain. But in this case, I don't think that's true. Because when you can't gamble or watch porn or eat fast food, it's not pain you feel. At least I don't believe so. I think it's much more similar to when you say no to a child, something they really want to do, and you tell them, no, you can't. And they say, and they just begin saying, no, but I want. And it's a sort of despair, a sort of, I don't know what I'm going to do if I can have it. But if you look at a child, once that passes and they're bored and they're there, it's like then they have to confront themselves with the thing, which is they just didn't want to be bored. And now they're going to have to find a way to entertain themselves, not with the thing they wanted. For you, I think it's quite similar, but it is much more serious what you're trying to escape here. Because it's not only boredom we try to escape. It's not only, I have nothing to do. We often are trying to avoid things that are good for us, but they're just uncomfortable. And this can be all the way from the next line of your article that you're stuck in, you don't know what to write, all the way to what you should be doing with your life and that you're wasting your days away. Because every time we're attacked, not attacked actually, the opposite of attacked, every time these feelings arise and we're like, I should do that, what am I doing with my life? What is the next line of the article? How do I figure this out? Have you realized that it's always in those moments that then you also get the need to scroll, to watch porn, and to eat shitty foods, and to go gamble? It is not by mistake at all. It is, again, an easy way to escape it. And in this regard, as I see it, that is truly when having low impulse control comes to attack us. However, and I switched the order of how I want to talk about things in my mind. However, here's when we also have to realize that low impulse control is really, it's not the root cause. It is a symptom of the root cause. Because if I ask you, what makes a man, for example, wake up every day for years and go to a job he hates? Well, I could say here, to sustain a family he loves. Or in a very extreme case, what makes a man not reject his faith when the consequence for doing so is to give his life away? Well, here would be his belief in God and in something higher. And what is common in these two situations and many more is that there's a higher purpose to it. It's not suffering for the sake of suffering. It's not sacrifice for the sake of sacrifice. It is because there is a purpose behind it. There's a meaning. There's something that matters more than just feeling good in the moment. And obviously here risking being a bit cliche, because this has been said a lot, but I don't think in this context so much. If you have a big enough why, if a man has a big enough why, he will go and do the impossible and beyond. Things that would seem not even in a movie could be done, and they will be done. And in this aspect is when I think it's also easy to see why nowadays all of these things are so prevalent. And so many people are gambling addicts and alcoholics and eat too many fast foods and scroll too much. Because I think there's been also no other time when there's been such a lack of purpose. When so many things feel meaningless, when people feel like they're doing jobs that there's no value to them. And you're just earning money to pay rent and to buy groceries, and you have nothing at the end of the day, and you'll never be able to buy a house or a nice car, and it just feels so meaningless. And confronted with that, one may ask, well, since I don't have any purpose, and it seems like I have no hope of having purpose, why not just go and have fun? Why not just go and, enjoy my life? And at least let me have fun. Why not? And it is going back, and I switched the order because it's when I should have said it, because even if you're in that situation like we talked about, you will feel empty inside if you just indulge in these things, and you'll feel void, and you'll feel like you're doing yourself wrong because you are. And in this matter, we get to the root of the problem, that it is not so much that you have low impulse control, even though some people have lower impulse control, is that you have no good reason to control your impulses. At least it doesn't feel like it. Because even though you may know that you shouldn't be eating these foods and watching these things and playing these games, you still do because there's no better reason not to. That is the problem. That is essentially the root cause of it. Because if you think about things that matter to you, you don't do things that go against it, that betray them. At least not often. And when you do, you feel so bad that you feel too bad to almost repeat it. And so if we are to solve this problem, within each one of us, if you suffer from this, don't think that it is more disciplined videos you need or courses. It is not that. What you are in a lack of is in finding a purpose behind what you're doing to be able to reject this. And I think here when the paradox comes, because the only way you're going to be able to do this is if you can reject these things for long enough to allow your mind and yourself to work through these problems. Because, it's like a downward loop that every time you feel like, oh, I should figure this out, it feels uncomfortable, you go and you do the bad things. Then you do the bad things, you then do the other thing, you feel bad, and now you delay this moment of when you could actually figure things out. And in this manner, as far as I can think right now, I don't have a solution to you except to tell you, just do it. But at least I hope you leave here realizing that it is not that you lack discipline per se, or focus per se, or that you're just a weak-willed individual. It's not about that. Because if you had that purpose behind it, you'd be the strongest-willed individual. I have no doubt about it. And I think you can imagine that situation as well. So ponder on this problem moving forward, but change your lens on it. Change your view on it. It is not about increasing your impulse control per se. It is about having a good enough reason to actually go against these impulses.